Hi guys, welcome back to the Spirit YouTube channel. Make sure you join the Spirit family by pressing the subscribe button down below. My name's Issy Haigh, I'm an ex-Great Britain acrobatic gymnast, and we recently saw Claudia Fragapani's Medals Memories video, so we thought we'd make our own. So I've got my medals and my leotards from when I was about 16 up until when I retired, and we're just going to go through the memories that are attached to them all. So the first medal I've got is a silver one, this one here, from when I was an International 1 trio with Lydia and Nina. Nowadays that would be IDP if you're from Britain, it's in the NDP code of points, it's an IDP trio. We only competed balance for that competition, but we got the highest score in a balance routine, but because we only did balance and out of the 2 trios we came second, so that's what this one is for. We don't have the leotards for that one anymore, so I can't show you that one, but we're going to insert a little clip. Okay, next up I've got another silver medal from when I was in a partnership with Tara. We started off as a grade 3 pair, which nowadays would be grade 5, because that was in the old system, and then went up to an 11-16 pair, and we did a few competitions together, and we had these leotards the most time we were together, these flame ones, and then these blue ones. Amy and I helped to make these ones, so that was fun. We competed together quite a few times. It was one of my longer partnerships, and did one competition at grade 3 as a pair, and then we did the Southwest Championships and came second at 11-16, and then after that we did the British tournament at 11-16 as well. Next up was another grade 3 pair with Lily. We only did 2 competitions together. One of them was the Heathrow Invitational competition, so that was the first time I ever took a trip to Heathrow. And then we did the Southwest Prelims as well, and we came third at that one, so that's this bronze one. We wore this blue leotard for the Southwest competition, which at the time we borrowed from King Edmunds, and then recently we've just bought them from Tigers, which was a nice little memory to have them come back. Next up is quite a special one. It was my last medal and competition before I moved from Spirit to Heathrow, and it was a grade 3, which is now grade 5, trio with Amy and Nina, so Amy our head coach, and we won the Southwest Championships, so that was my last one at Spirit, and we wore, this was one of our leotards, this one here, and Amy and I were literally finishing this leotard the night before the competition, before we had to wear it the next day, so that's got quite a nice memory to it as well. So after my last competition at Spirit, which was July 2013, I started training full-time at Heathrow in September of 2013. So I moved there for the second year of my A-levels and moved into a 12 to 18 trio, which is the first time I'd competed at 12 to 18, first time doing 3 routines. It was a big jump in training and all that kind of stuff. And I was in a trio with Lily and Eddie. And then our first competition together was the BIAC competition in February of 2014, and we came second at that one. These were our leotards the whole time we were 12 to 18. So this was our balance leotard, which has always been one of my favourites. I love this leotard so much. This one was our tempo leotard, which also is a favourite. I'm going to say that about literally all of them because they're all my favourites. And then this was our combined leotard. Funny thing about this competition was that we actually put on the tempo and balance leotards the wrong way around. So after we'd come off the floor for our first routine, our coach told us that we'd put on the wrong leotard. But then it kind of stuck, so we ended up keeping them that way around. Not long after the BIAC competition, it was literally like a week or maybe maximum of 2 weeks, we went to the MIAC competition, which is in Portugal. It was the first time I competed internationally. When we first got there, because it was quite sunny, even though we went in March, I had quite bad sunstroke when we first got there, so I ended up lying in the auditorium just having a bit of a nap before we were training. And we came second in that routine. In the time between BIAC and MIAC, we changed our tempo routine. So we learned a completely new routine in the space of about a week and a half and had to polish it up in time to go to Portugal. So I've always been quite proud of this medal, considering that we literally learned the routine like a week before. So as I mentioned earlier, when I first moved to Heathrow, I was also halfway through my A-levels and I was studying at Surbiton. And while we were at Surbiton, we were competing in school gymnastics as well. So competing for Surbiton in gymnastics. And we came first in the group routine at the regional competition, which qualified us for the nationals. And I also did a pair with Lizzie, and we came second at that competition. So we didn't get to take our pair routine to nationals, but we still did pretty well coming second. And then when we got to nationals, we also had to compete in floor and vault, which I had never done any of before, so I had to learn some vaults. And as a team, we came third in the floor and vault competition, and then we won the Acro group routine as well. So about 6 or 7 months after I first started training at Heathrow, we went to the British Championships, which is the first time I'd competed at a British Championships. And so this one's a really special one to me because we won in my 12 to 18 trio. So this has always been one of my favourite medals because it was the first time I competed at the British Championships. So this next one is from my last competition in my 12 to 18 trio, which is at the Limes Cup in Aalen, Germany, and it's this little cute fruit salad ribbon bronze medal. We came third in this competition. This venue was kind of weird because the warm-up hall was down the road from the competition hall, so you had to do all your warm-up in the warm-up hall and then get all your stuff back on so you could walk down the road and then be ready to compete in the other room, which was a bit strange. I hadn't done that before, but it worked okay. And we almost couldn't compete at this competition because we'd taken our CDs with our music on, but we hadn't labelled them properly, so the organisers didn't know that they were ours, and we nearly got told that we weren't going to be allowed to compete. And luckily our coaches managed to get them to let us, so that was very lucky. The reason this was our last one is that we actually qualified to go to the World Championships in 2014 in Paris, but a couple of weeks before we were due to leave to go and compete, Eddie, who was the top, broke her arm, which meant that we couldn't go and compete, which was quite sad. I was quite upset about that for quite some time, but it just meant that we came back and we did something else, and I managed to carry on and do the other stuff, which I'll come to in a minute. After my 12 to 18 trio, I was in a 13 to 19 trio with Lily and Emily for a very short time, and then Lily decided to retire. So then me and Emily were with Cyan for a 13 to 19 trio, which didn't last too long, and then we were put into a senior trio with Alicia, and we had competed against Alicia at 12 to 18 the whole time, so it had been a bit weird to compete against Alicia, even though I was friends with her, and then suddenly we were put together as senior, which was really nice. So Emily and I were put with Alicia after she'd competed in her 13 to 19 trio at the European Championships in the October of 2015, but we were out of age for the whole of 2016 because Emily was too young to compete at senior, so we spent that whole year preparing and getting all our moves ready so that we'd be ready to start competing at senior in the beginning of 2017. So a few weeks before we were meant to compete as senior for the first time, we were practicing our balance routine, and there's literally a tiny bit of dance work. We were just running to the front of the floor, so it wasn't even anything difficult or anything like that. It was literally just a little bit of running. I rolled over my ankle in the routine and there was a massive pop, and one of my other coaches heard it from literally all the way across the room, and I was convinced that I'd broken my ankle for a couple of seconds because it was so loud and it really, really hurt. Luckily it was just a sprain, so I had two torn ligaments, grade 2 torn ligaments in my ankle, which took quite a lot of physio to get better, and it meant that the first few competitions that we did as senior, I had to have quite a heavily strapped ankle because it was just so weak. And for a little while we thought that, we didn't really know what was going to happen, if I was going to be able to do it. I'd have to do my training, we'd have to adapt our routine a little bit so that I wasn't using it too much, and sit with my foot in a bucket of ice at the end of the training each day to try and keep the swelling down. And luckily we still managed to do all of our competitions. It just meant that I had to have it strapped up for the first few just to make sure that it would be strong enough. So our first competition that we did as a trio was the BIAC competition in the beginning of 2017, and we came first in that competition. We had a number of leos when we were senior. This was our tempo leotard. This was the only leotard we kept for the whole time that we were senior, and we kept the same tempo routine the whole time as well. The balance and combined leotards and routines changed a couple of times. This was our first balance leotard, which we bought from Lizzie's trio, and then I sold it to Spirit a couple of years ago, so the Spirit kids compete in these leos now, so that's really nice because I have the memories attached to it and I get to see them competing in it as well. So after BIAC was the British tournament, which also served as a trial for the World Games. So there was 2 trials for the World Games. One was the tournament competition, so where you finished and your scores and stuff kind of determined whether you would earn the place in that trial. And then the other one was a trial at Lilleshall, so it was a proper trial competition at Lilleshall. And we came first at that competition, luckily, because we had a bit of a shocker in our balance routine, clawed it back a bit with our tempo and combined, but the balance was not our best. So we felt very fortunate to have won it and to have won the first trial as well for the World Games. The week after the British tournament, we went to the Maya World Cup, so that was the first time I got to compete internationally, compete representing Great Britain. So even though I'd qualified to compete at the World Championships a couple of years before, I'd never actually competed for Great Britain before. So that was nice to do. It was a very different sort of experience because the World Cup is treated as almost like a separate competition to the other part of the Maya competition. We had these Quattro training leotards for our podium training for this competition. And we were competing against a couple of other countries. We had Austria, another trio from Great Britain from Richmond, and then Belarus. And we came second in the World Cup behind Belarus, and Richmond came third, which was really nice to be on the podium with those guys because we were good friends with them. So after those first few competitions of being senior were out of the way, we had a little bit of time to kind of prepare and change things around a bit if things needed changing. So we swapped our routines around a little bit, and what used to be our combined routine became our balance routine, and the leotard that went with it, which we don't have anymore, we sold to DNS. It was a red kind of rainbowy one. So we changed that around. We got a new combined routine, which we had this leotard for, which was one of the best ones I've ever had, most expensive one I've ever had. So we used those new routines when we went to the second World Games trial, which it was a very close competition, really good fun, but really close competition, and luckily we won that, so that meant that we'd qualified to go to the World Games, which was the biggest competition that I did. This leotard is very scratchy, there's lots of diamantes on it, so I'm going to include a picture after this of the scratches that we got from the training and the competing at that trial, because it was very painful. So next up was the World Games, which was the biggest competition that I ever did. It's the highest level you can get to in acrobatics because it's the equivalent of the Olympics. It happens once every 4 years, so it was really like a massive honour to be able to go to that. We had a couple of new training leotards for this one, so a couple more quattro ones. This one, and then this one, which I loved because it's really comfy, really soft material. It was a slightly different competition sort of format to what we've had before as well, because you do all 3 of your routines in one day, and a lot of the time you spread out your routines across a few days when you're doing international competitions. It was quite nice in a way, because it meant that you just did one routine of the competition, had a little bit of time to prepare, and then you just went and warmed up for the next one. So you didn't really fully cool down or had to get out of a different headspace back into your competition mindset. We just went through it all in one go, and then we were able to watch other people who were competing in between before we had to go back and warm up again. The only thing that was really awful about that competition was it was a really long walk going into the competition hall to get to the floor. So they'd announce you when you were at one end of the hall, and then you had to walk all the way across to get to the floor, and you just like, I just really want to get on the floor and start competing now. So that was a bit terrifying. And we came 3rd in the World Games. We've got this really crazy heavy World Games medal, which has got really cool things on the back of it. So this was probably my highlight of all my gymnastics career. It was the biggest competition. It was just such an amazing experience and really great fun. After the World Games, we literally flew straight back into Liverpool and went straight to the British Championships, so literally straight from one competition into another one, which was really tiring. The whole Great Britain team who had just come from the World Games had to go straight to another competition, straight into training and competing. So I think you can tell kind of watching our routines that we were a little bit tired. We managed to hold it together and still compete all right, and we won that one as well. But it was very tiring coming straight back into that. And also, the Spirit team were at the same venue because there was another competition, a display competition going on in a different hall. So it was really nice to be able to watch them do their routine, and they managed to come and watch some of my routines, which was really nice for all of us. Also, while I was at Heathrow, I was part of the display group Spellbound, who won Britain's Got Talent in 2010. I wasn't in the group then, obviously, that was before I moved to Heathrow, but we got to be part of the group and go and do displays. So we did a few charity events during the time that we were competing. The best one was when we went to Abu Dhabi, which was the week before the Europeans. So we literally flew out, came back the day before that we flew back out to the Europeans. And we wore this kind of all-in-one piece. I can't really show you all of it, which was interesting. It was such a great experience. There was this big outdoor venue with like loads of people there, and we were one of the last parts of the opening, which was really great fun. Really, really hot out in Abu Dhabi. The floor was it was like a stage with just like a layer of carpet over the top, but because it was so hot during the day and we competed at night, all the moisture had sunk into the carpet, so it was literally wet under our feet, which made it slightly tricky to make sure that we didn't drop anyone or slip over when we were doing our routine, but we managed all right. And when we had finished doing our routine, we literally got on a bus and went straight to the airport. So we'd waited all day to do this routine at like 10 o'clock at night, went straight to the airport, got on a plane and landed back at Heathrow at like 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, slept all day and got back on a plane the next day to go to the Europeans. Again, in between the World Games and the British Championships, we had a little bit of time to rearrange things if needed, and we changed our balance routine. We had a new combined routine for the World Games, so we kept our tempo routine obviously the whole way through, and we changed our balance routine to a new one for the European Championships. We borrowed a leotard for that competition, which was also from Lizzie's trio. They were similar sizes to us, so it was very convenient. And what we'd done the whole way through is we made kind of ribbon hair pieces. So this was the one that went with our tempo leotard, the orange one. This goes with the black combined leotard, and then the balance leotard was grey and red. So we had this kind of colour one for that one. So the European Championships in 2017 was my last competition as a gymnast. Had a lot of meaning attached to it, partly because of that, and partly because we've been working all this time to build up to that competition. We competed tempo first, and the way that the European Championships works is that you compete your tempo and your balance, and the first qualifiers for each country out of both of those qualify to do their combined routine, and then there's also individual tempo and balance final. So we did tempo routine first, and we qualified in second behind the other Great Britain trio, which meant that they qualified for the tempo final and put them in a good position to be qualifying for the combined, which made us a little bit nervous because tempo was usually our strongest routine. Balance we'd had a couple of wobbles with, and it was a new routine as well. We hadn't competed it before, so we didn't know how well it was going to do. So going into the balance routine, we were a bit nervous about how well it was going to go. And I think we shocked ourselves and everyone else because we ended up qualifying ahead of the other Great Britain trio for the balance routine, which meant that we qualified for the balance final, and it also pushed us enough above them to be able to qualify for the combined routine, which was a great relief for us. So the balance medal that we ended up getting for the balance final, which was a silver medal, probably holds one of the most meaning for me out of any of my medals because it just had so much going into it, and we really didn't expect. If we were going to be in an individual final, it would be the tempo one. So to have got a medal in the balance final was just mad. And then we competed in the combined, the overall final, and we came second overall as well. So we came second behind Russia, which was a really nice way to finish our career. And also being able to see our family holding this flag in the audience as well, which was really great fun. So Emily, Alicia and I all retired together after the European Championships in 2017, and then in early 2018, the FIG awarded each of us with a World Class Gymnast award. So we got this little pin, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, it's a bit blurry. A little pin that basically just says that we are world-class gymnast, and that was because that we'd competed at Europeans and the World Games. So if you've competed at a certain number of world-level events as a senior, then you qualify to be a world-class gymnast, which was a great honour. I hope you enjoyed that trip down memory lane with me. We're thinking of doing a reaction to old gym videos soon, so if you'd like to see that, drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching, bye!